It's the Orioles on Masson and a large crowd on hand for Game 2 of this 4-game set. It's the Red Sox and the Orioles after the long affair last night. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Thorne, and welcome. These two teams are getting used to playing these extra inning ball games for the Orioles. Their 5th walk-off win, tied for first in the American League. The 5th extra inning ball game against the Red Sox going back through 2012. And in all of those games, the Orioles are 5-0. Last night, some of the big names were big again, like Chris Davis, like Adam Jones, like the bullpen. But how about some of the names that you might forget but mattered very much? Let's start with a home run. Early in the ball game, long to be forgotten, perhaps Danny Valencia launched one. It put the Orioles on the board, gave them an up early in the game. In an inning that would be a 3-run inning, Nate McCloud's sacrifice helped create the opportunities later they would score on. And then in the bullpen, T.J. McFarland would come on, and yes, his first major league win. There you see the numbers for him in the majors, 15 games with that 4.02 ERA. In the minors, 48-31. T.J. McFarland last night was not forgotten by his teammates, Jim Palmer. They had a big celebration in the clubhouse for T.J. last night for number 1.
Well, you're right, and we thought it was going to be Kevin Gausman because he was trying to get his first major league win. He started the game, actually pitched very well. Dan Duquette's down on the field. Danny Valencia's walking by. He said, boy, this really, you did a great job. How'd you know? He said, well, we know he hits lefties. And T.J. McFarland, one of the scouts, called me up from the West Coast today. He said, now I see why they got this Rule 5 guy. He throws strikes. He's left-handed. He can pitch multiple innings, and he gets his first major league win. So the little guys, the roster as a whole is just better for the Orioles. We know their core guys have gotten better over the last 2 seasons, but their complementary players have done a terrific job.
And those are some of those complementary players from last night. So here we go, another heavyweight battle to take place tonight in Game 2 of this 4-game set. The Orioles come in just 2.5 games behind the division-leading Red Sox. Hey, nice. Baseball on Masson is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Could not be a more beautiful evening here in Baltimore for Game 2 of this 4-game set. Our train game time temperature at 80 degrees, clear skies, and not much of a breeze at all here at the ballpark tonight. Train celebrating the 100th anniversary by offering irresistible financing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Well, a great ball game last night that rolled along for 13 innings. Let's take a look at the lineup for the Red Sox tonight. Ellsbury, Victorino, and Pedroia. Ortiz, Carp, and Nava. Iglesias gets the start, did not play last night. Middlebrooks, David Ross did not play last night either. Ortiz did and delivered a home run.
Take a look at our scouting reports on the 25-year-old right-hander out of California. Well, winning 15-5. Had called up right after July 4th last year, went 9-3 2012. This year 6-2. So he's been on a roll. Won his last 3 starts. Dinger fever. He does lead the American League in 16 home runs in 13 starts, but they seem to be mostly solos. Doesn't let them bother you. And then no June swoon for Chris Tillman, 2-0 with a very low ERA. In fact, other than a couple of glitches, the starting pitching for the Orioles finally settling down where they'd like to have it, and he's been a big part of it.
And honoring the military tonight, so the uniforms will reflect that in both the jerseys and the caps that are being worn by the Orioles here for this ball game. Chris Tillman with the 1-1 record lifetime against the Red Sox. He started in his second outing of the year back in April in a non-decision game that the Orioles won over the Red Sox 3-2. The hits in that ball game: 6 singles, 3 hits, a base on balls, and a 2-run third against Tillman in his only outing against Boston this year.
We'll take a look at the Orioles defense behind Chris Tillman. McLeod, Jones, Markakis, all Gold Glovers. Machado already won a Gold Glove. Flaherty playing like it. Same with Davis. And then Matt Wieters, 2-time Gold Glover, doing the catching. Yeah, if you look at this lineup to Gary tonight, none of the Red Sox, at least to this point, has ever hit a home run off of Chris Tillman. Doesn't mean they can't score runs. They've scored 80 in their last 12 games in the month of June. Tillman
ready to go, and the pitch will be taken up high by Ellsbury. Jacoby Ellsbury had his hit streak ended at 11 last night. He ended up with an 0 for 5. He did pick up an RBI on a fielder's choice. He'll go to second base. Flaherty time to get in front of it and record the out. For Tillman this year, he has been a pronounced fly ball pitcher. One of the reasons why he's given up the 16 home runs, which is tied for most in the American League. He has had 59% of his outs recorded on fly balls. That's a pretty high rate. With these two teams, I mean, you never know, but this, if you look at the pitchers, you could have a home run derby. Dempster's tied for third in home runs surrendered, but then, as Jim said, Tillman gives up all these home runs, and against a home run hitting team, Boston, none.
Well, again, this is only his second start, and it's a lot of people say, and Dennis Eckersley, Hall of Famers, doing their television, he said, well, how come all the home runs? And said they're not on curveballs and changeups. They're when he gets behind. The hitters will look for fastballs. We saw Gausman, Kevin, throwing, 93 to 98, 97 last night?
That's going to go to center. Jones will have to play it on a bounce. Victorino. He's got an 8-game hit streak now as he picks up the 1-out single here in the first inning. Same thing he did in the ball game last night. So Victorino on, and that will bring up Dustin Pedroia. And of all the bats in the lineup, this is the one that Tillman has had the greatest struggle with. Because a lot of pitchers can say that. Pedroia is 5 for 14 lifetime off Tillman. Pedroia had a 1 for 5 in the ball game last night.
Yeah, the minute they got the ball up, he hit it hard. Lined out to third. Could have had another hit in the first inning. Lined into a double play. And next time up, a good slider. Next time up, bad slider. And boy, he drilled it into left field. Really good high ball hitter. And as you mentioned, Chris Tillman likes to pitch up in the strike zone. So it's not a very good matchup for him.
Victorino will go back to the bag at first base. Not a lot of running opportunities for two ball clubs that do like to run this season. Shane Victorino has picked up 5 stolen bases, 7 chances, but they're concerned about whether or not he's really healthy enough to be running. Did not last night. Pedroia will foul that one straight back. The home runs have been a problem not only for Tillman but for the Orioles overall. The most home runs allowed, the Orioles have given up 95. Then the Astros, the Jays, the Brewers, and the Padres. And we've continued to mention one of the problems for the Orioles has been they've been out-homered here at Camden Yards 55-42 on the year. And the ball is fouled away. Stays at 2 strikes on Pedroia with Ortiz on deck. Chris Tillman 9-3 last year, already 6-2 on the season. In home starts, he's got a win and 2 losses with a 5.31 ERA. Lifetime 9-9 here at Camden Yards with an ERA of 4.7 in this ballpark. 0-2 delivery, and Pedroia swings and fouls another one off.
And that's what he does. For a little guy, swings hard, great plate coverage.
Amazing on base percentage for him. He has reached safely now in 22 straight games, hitting .306 in the ball games. That's reaching base, not necessarily via a hit. 0-2 the count. Runner at first base and a half swing, this time into right. Nick Markakis there. Pedroia retired and Victorino back.
Well, you're talking about what Pedroia did on a couple of times. So most foul balls induced. Now Cliff Lee throws more strikes than anybody. Verlander with fabulous stuff, and then right behind him Tillman, Hamels, who struggles this year, Clayton Kershaw, who's won a Cy Young, one of the most dominant pitchers, and then Shelby Miller, the young pitcher, who's having a fabulous start for the maybe one of the best teams, or if not the best team in baseball, the Cardinals.
Pedroia fouled off 3 in his at bat already.
But what slowed down the bat, and this is what Chris has been doing lately, is that changeup. And that's what he got him to fly out to right field on.
David Ortiz with an 0 for 3 off Tillman will take the pitch for a strike. Ortiz has had a hot bat. Shift is on against him, putting Flaherty way out there in right field. Nobody on the third base position, with Machado playing shortstop for the Orioles here with this defensive alignment. 0-1 count on Ortiz. And Ortiz will take it up and in, knocked down by Wieters. Runner will stay at first base. Tillman has had a couple of hit batters, 4 wild pitches on the season. Last night we saw Ortiz backed off the plate a couple of times. Not a bad idea in part of the game, especially when you have somebody with all the power that he's got. Try and keep him from digging in.
Yeah, if not up by the chin, at least maybe try to make him dance a little bit, see if Big Papi has any rhythm.
1-1 delivery on the way, and that'll be taken outside for a ball.
Well, he hit the 1 home run, Gary, and as you noted, had a couple of probably 2 or 3 other home run swings. So, you know, if you look at his month of June, it came in 11 for 48, which is .229, but he has hit 5 home runs.
He is the leader in the majors in home runs in June with 5, and the American League leader in RBIs in the month of June. He has picked up 14. Count on him with 2 balls and 1 strike. Victorino, the runner at first base, being held by Davis. And a long look in the 2-1. And Ortiz will take the pitch and gets a 3-ball 1 strike count.
Yeah, it is almost impossible to get David Ortiz to chase when you're behind him if you're pitching. And there's 3-1 count. That's what he lives for. He'll take the walk. 2 respective managed. John Farrell in his first year with the Red Sox. Buck Showalter came over in 2010.
3-ball 1 strike count. Timeout asked for by Ortiz. Ortiz has struck out only 27 times and drawn only 1 less walk. 26 free passes on the year. He's got 13 doubles, a triple, and the 14 home runs. We underline the triple for David Ortiz.
Well, it's a good sign, only because he had all kinds of leg problems last year and then early this season.
And he'll draw the walk here. So Tillman surrenders the first walk, and there goes the 0 for in walks. The Orioles did not walk a batter in the ball game last night. Time for our AT&T Mobility Trivia Fact. Tillman is not allowed a home run, 7 starts against the Red Sox in his career, but 29 home runs and 24 starts against the rest of the American League East. That is a go figure stat right there you got the answer to that, you go to the head of the line. 2 on. Here is Carp.
Well, this guy will test you. He's hit 4 in the month of June. One of them last night.
Had a 1 for 3 in the ball game last night. Takes a big count on that one. Gets stopped by Wieters. Carp getting the start at first base again tonight. And an 0-1 count on him. He was not supposed to be in the ball game last night. Napoli came out of the ball game with an illness, and the first at bat by Carp was his 7th home run of the year. 0-1 delivery. So a big early first inning here as Tillman 1 out away from getting out of it, and the Red Sox 1 hit away from getting a run up on the board.
And he comes in with runners in scoring position at 4:23. It has been red hot. They got him in February from the Mariners.
1-1 delivery to Carp, and that will miss outside from Tillman. So Tillman playing a little dangerously here, working behind the hitters. Carp has had 3 home runs over the 5-game hit streak that he is in the midst of right now. Victorino the single at second. Ortiz with a walk on at first base. Here's the 2-1 delivery, and that ball put up in the air to right field. Nick Markakis backing up. Looks like he's got room at the wall, and he does. 373 away. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 2 left on base. The Orioles coming up. To you by Southwest Airlines. McLeod, Machado, and Markakis, Jones, Davis, and Wieters, Hardy, Dickerson, and Flaherty. Manny Machado continuing his hit streak with a 2 for 7 last night.
And the veteran Ryan Dempster, 35. This is his 16th year in the big leagues. Well, less is more. And a lot of sliders, a lot of splitters. He's averaged over 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. Mixed support when they score him a bunch of runs. He could win in his 4 wins, 33 runs. In his 6 losses, only 7. And then the veteran presence. He's against the Orioles, only 1 earned run in each of his first 3 starts.
Nate McLeod leading it off for the Orioles. McLeod had an 0 for 3 in the ball game last night. In at third base is Middlebrooks against him. And the 0-1 delivery goes to left field. Nava is there, puts it away, 2 pitches and an out. That'll bring up Manny Machado, and he does bring a career-high hit streak of 11 games into this. Second time he has reached that mark. He did it the first of the year. Picked up a couple of hits in the ball game last night to go 2 for 7 and had an RBI. Machado now leads the majors. That's majors. 92 hits and 28 doubles. And shows bunt just to get Middlebrooks moving in a little bit, and he does. So Machado continues an unbelievable season, and he's putting under his belt. 1-0 delivery, and ouch, right off Ross.
Yeah, David Ross. This is why I catch. maybe not every day, right square in the middle of the mask. Well, last night, Jared Saltalamacchia had his mask knocked off and went sideways.
It's a good time to talk about what I was talking about with Ross before the game. I said, how do you describe the matchup between these two teams, that they play so tight, so tough, so intense? He said, go back to John L. Sullivan. Go back and look at the Boston Strong Boy. I said, what do you mean? He said he was a bare knuckle, the last heavyweight bare knuckle champion to fight. And he said, that's what these games are like. They're like the rounds that Sullivan fought bare knuckle. And I went back and I did look it up. And he's absolutely right. John L. Sullivan was a Southie. That ball is ripped into left field. That's going to be a hop off the wall. Played in the corner by Nava. Going to second base is Manny Machado. A career high 12-game hit streak.
Yeah, when you start talking about guys under 21, you talk about Griffey, you talk about Trout, you talk about Robin Yount, and he just gets all over this fastball. Ryan Dempster, I mean, he's got the splitter, the slider, but 88, that's about where he's going to top out, maybe 89 miles per hour, so in the middle of the plate. And the amazing thing about Manny Machado, and this is how well he's played in all facets of the game, is he hadn't hit a home run since we were out in Anaheim, and nobody even thinks about that, because of all the other things he's been able to do to help this team win.
The Orioles want to take advantage of these situations a whole lot earlier and more so than they did last night. They were 4 for 14 with runners in scoring position in the ball game last night, and they left 16 men on base in that 13-inning game that the Orioles won 5-4. The Red Sox stranded only 4 in that ball game. So the first RBI opportunity in that situation goes to Nick Markakis. Nick's got a 5-game hit streak with a 1 for 6 that he put up in the ball game last night. And Dempster will miss inside to him. Markakis a 2 for 6 with a home run lifetime off Ryan Dempster. Well, the O's chance to get on the board early. The Orioles, Manny Machado being held by Iglesias, the shortstop. Short lead at second, at least to start, and Dempster steps off.
Yeah, pretty good numbers for a veteran guy. The home runs at 14, but 227 were runners in scoring position. That's league average are right around 260, so it's a lot lower than the rest of the league.
Ross able to fight that and keep it out in front of him, holding the runner on at second base. For Dempster this year, that 231 opponent batting average is the 11th best in the league. Left-handers 228, right-handers 234, not much difference. 9 home runs have been hit by the right-handers and 5 by the lefties, as John Farrell's staff has continued to put up some real good numbers, especially on the road. 2-ball, 1-strike delivery on the way. Markakis got jammed down to first base. Carp is there. He'll go himself. 2 down, runner at third.
Let's take a look at the defense for the Red Sox. Nava, Ellsbury, and Victorino. Shane with 3 Gold Gloves, 2008 to 2010. Middlebrooks, who's been struggling a little bit. The Wiz. Iglesias, they brought him up last year for his glove. Well, this year they glove and bat. Pedroia, MVP in 2008. And Mike Carp over at first. David Ross behind the plate.
Adam Jones stands in. There's the 298 batting average. Last night a 1 for 6. A lot of at bats, obviously, in the 13-inning ball game last night. So you had some averages, either the chance to take a nice jump or drop a couple of points. And for Adam, it dropped a couple of points down below 300. Adam with runners in scoring position, hitting 280 on the season with a home run, 25 RBIs in these situations.
What he did, though, is he got Chris Davis to the plate with that single to right field in the 10th and in the 13th, and he said, yeah, I know you're going to tell me I need to hit the ball to right field. I said, you just get it anywhere you want, just do it more often.
Well, delivery to him inside.
Well, Adam's going to turn 28, and he's got enough at bats now where you get to know yourself a little bit. And when you're over swinging, he said, yeah, I know I'm swinging too hard.
We'd tell you that was Buck Showalter, but we can't see him.
Camouflage?
If you got to explain them, they're not good. And that will be taken inside for a ball. And Jones gets ahead on the count, 3-0.
I'm still trying to ponder the bare knuckles. That would have been a lot of fun. And there were I'm sure you'll get into it. No times for the rounds.
3-0 delivery on the way. That's their fourth strike. Adam Jones saying after ball game last night, the zeros were awesome. Talking about the numbers put up by the staff last night. I think the most impressive part was no walks in 13 innings. That's the highest walking team in baseball. Speaking of Boston, I don't want to jinx us, but we just went after them. We went after everyone. Ball game last night, no walks for the Red Sox. That'll go to shortstop. Up with it is Iglesias. He'll make the play, and that'll do it. No runs, one hit, no errors, and one left on base. Back to work. Tillman.
Go! Hi, I'm J.J. Hardy with the Baltimore Orioles. Wanted to thank all the military personnel that serve our nation. You are the true heroes.
And J.J. absolutely right, and a number of them on hand here at the ballpark for the ball game tonight. And those T-shirts that you saw were given out before the game tonight. Those are not given out. You earn them. And a few have been earned right there. We go to the second inning. Nava, Iglesias, and Middlebrooks coming up. The Orioles knocking a game off the lead of the Red Sox with the victory in the ball game last night. Red Sox now lead the Orioles by 2.5 games with New York's loss yesterday and the Orioles win. Orioles move into second place, a half game ahead of the Yankees. Tillman's delivery, and that is in there for a strike. Nava last night had a 1 for 5, enough to keep his hit streak alive at 7 games for Daniel Nava, who's having an outstanding offensive start. 296, and the pitch is down low. Tillman with a 1-1.
Yeah, he's won their last 2 games with the game winners. One of them a 2-run home run on Wednesday night, and there's the numbers in that 7-game hitting streak. Been red hot in the month of June.
1-1 delivery to it. Nava leads all the outfielders in the American League in on base percentage and is second in RBIs for American League outfielders. He's got 44.
Well, one of the great stories in baseball, trying to go to Santa Clara, couldn't even make the team, was the equipment manager. Went to College of San Mateo, eventually went back to Santa Clara, didn't get drafted. Played in an independent league. He was talking about it yesterday. He said that his hitting instructor said you just have to be able to figure out how to get the barrel of the bat to the ball. And if you overswing and you swing at balls and you do all those things, all the things we always talk about. And then last year, the wrist injuries when he finally has a chance to get to the big league. So he's one of those guys that have made the Red Sox and put them where they are.
2 for 7 off Tillman lifetime, and he'll foul that one right back into the screen. Switch hitter. It's 258 right-handed. Much better average from the left side of the plate where he's hitting .312 and also more power. 7 of his 9 home runs hit left-handed. 2 ball, 2 strike count from Tillman. The shift is on. That goes the other way down the line. McLeod, the long run. That's going to be a foul ball and a break for the Orioles on that one. We were talking about Sullivan just to end up on what, because Ross so surprised me with it in the dugout talking about it today, the Red Sox catcher. John L. Sullivan was a Southie from Boston South Side, called the Boston Strong Boy. The fight that changed all fights was Jake Kilrain's fight against Sullivan back in 1898. We were trying to figure out how many rounds there were in that fight. It ended up being a 75-round fight is what we found out. It was in Richburg, Mississippi in 1889. Literally, Kilrain threw in the towel before the 76th round, and I looked up the rules that were applied then. There were no time limits on the rounds. A round was when you got knocked down. You had 30 seconds to get back up and 8 more seconds to come to scratch, which meant to the center of the ring. So there were 75 knockdowns in that fight, which John L. Sullivan, by the way, won. He was the first athlete ever to earn $1 million. And coming back to what this has to do with this game, Ross says that's what these games are like. The Red Sox and the Orioles, bare-knuckled, heavyweight bouts.
Yeah, Nava just won the skirmish right there. He went round 1-1 by walking. And he fouled off some pitches. Can you imagine, coming up, and, Euclid used to play on this team. They'd foul balls off, and then you got Pedroia flicking them foul, and Ortiz, who doesn't swing at balls. A lot of good role models.
And here is Jose Iglesias. No play.
Take a look at our cheek inside the numbers, and here's a guy, the glove guy. That was last year. Got called up, didn't get a lot of at-bats, didn't hit very well, or with a lot of extra base hits. And then this year, because of Middlebrooks coming up with a bad back, look at those numbers. And it's just a pleasure. Now he's going to play on the left side. That means either third or short. Tonight he's at short, but he can flat out pick it at shortstop.
You see the hit streak that he's got going with that 14 number. He is 0 for 4 lifetime off Tillman. Did not play last night. And will foul that one back. He's not had a hit against the Orioles this year. He only had 3 at-bats in the series in Boston. The only other time these teams have met, and he went 0 for 3. And does not hit well against the Orioles overall with just a 188 batting average. 2 strike count on Iglesias. Leadoff man Navas on at first base. And that's going to be caught. Machado, no play at first base.
Yeah, a little bit of what happened early last night with Kevin Gausman in the first inning. Pedroia lines into Manny Machado, but this time it's only one. A little hanging changeup. You can see Iglesias already with 20 of his hits to left field, so much quicker bat. You don't want to be hitting it down to Manny Machado. Very difficult to get it by him.
So 1 out recorded. The base running by Nava to get back to the bag. Here's Middlebrooks. Middlebrooks a 2 for 5 in the ball game last night. And a swing and a miss. So Middlebrooks, Matt, may be coming back. He's hit in 2 of the 3 since returning from the DL on Monday with that lower back problem after some rehab games with AAA Pawtucket. Tillman with the 0-1 count. Runner off first base, and that'll be fouled off the other way. Tillman gets ahead here, 0-2. Middlebrooks, before the injury, had been struggling with the bat. How much that had to do with his back, no one will ever know, not even him. But he hopes with the back feeling better, the average will come up. 0-2 delivery on the way, and that's again late on it. Fouled away, stays at 0-2.
Yeah, we have seen for Chris Tillman that the velocity usually goes up as the game progresses. That's what we talked about. No June swoon, 2-0 with a 2.08 in his first 2 starts in the month of June. Now, he does have that cut fastball, looking for a ground ball, but as you mentioned, a fly ball pitcher would love to get a ball at one of his infielders and get a quick 2 outs.
0-2 delivery, that'll go to right field. Markakis, he's got it. 2 down. The Adam Jones Fan Challenge is here. Visit Facebook.com/Masson Orioles before June 16. Submit a video challenging Adam to any competition of your choice. Adam will pick his favorites, and the public will vote to decide who wins. The Adam Jones Fan Challenge is presented by Care First, who encourages each of us to take that first step towards a healthier lifestyle. 2 down. Runner remains at first on the leadoff walk, and Ross coming to the plate. The catcher not in the ball game last night with that 194 batting average.
Yeah, big, strong, and a pull hitter.
And the pitch will be taken for a strike. Only 3 for his last 25. Talking about the walks that did not happen in last night's game, and already 2 to the Red Sox in this game. They are second in walks in the American League. Last night, 47 times the Red Sox came to the plate against the 7 Oriole pitchers and did not draw a free pass. They have picked up a walk in each of the first 2 innings so far of this ball game. 1 ball, 1 strikeout. And foul back into the screen. 1-2. Chris Tillman with a couple of wins in his last 2 starts, and in fact has had 3 wins and a no decision game in his last 4. Last outing against Tampa Bay, 3 runs, 4 hits, 6 innings, as the Orioles had a 10-7 win in that game. 1-2 delivery, and that again fouled away. So Tillman's living up to the numbers we talked about regarding foul balls.
Oh, yes. Well, he doesn't have a 2. He does not throw a 2-seam fastball, so he doesn't throw a lot of grounders. The one number that I've looked at over the last couple of starts, which is why he's pitching better, is a curveball percentage has gone up about 20%. Went from 45 all the way to 65, and that can be his strikeout pitch.
Markakis will drift over towards the line and will have room and makes the catch. So a leadoff walk is left right there at first base, and it remains scoreless. Being brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. 4 million members, 4 million stories. Navy Federal Credit Union. And by DynCorp International, we serve today for a better tomorrow. We air tonight's game on Masson, celebrating the U.S. Army's birthday. The Army, the largest and oldest established branch of the military. We thank all the past and current members of the U.S. Army for their work and their dedication in protecting our country. Army. And a swearing-in ceremony, as is held here at Camden Yards each year in the state. And those were some of the young men and women who were sworn into the Army in pregame ceremonies today. Those of us in the booth, careful not to raise our right hand while the ceremony was going on. But they did. And now the Sergeant Major's in charge of your life. Deep to left field, way back. Chris Davis again. Goodbye, home run. A major league leading 22nd of the year.
Like to be in that pitching meeting. So what's he now? He's 10 for 25 with 6 home runs, 10 RBIs. Last 25 at bats.
Woof. And up high to Wieters.
And you can't pitch around somebody when he leads off an inning. So this is what he does so well. Came out on Tuesday, hit for an extra half hour, had been 0 for 16. Walked a couple times that night, game winner.
Wieters off the fist to right field. Victorino. We take a look at our Hollywood Casino League leaderboard. Slot Stables Dining, the ultimate triple play at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. With that home run, the Orioles, the largest run differential, first 3 innings. Red Sox have a plus 52. The Orioles second now with a plus 36. Tigers, Angels, and Rays in the top 5. And for Chris Davis, he continues to be a nightmare for the Red Sox. And here is Hardy. JJ with an 0 for 4 in the ball game last night. Chris Davis now this season has 3 home runs and 5 RBIs against the Red Sox. That is his 7th career home run against Boston. He got the game-winning hit in the ball game last night in extra innings. He has had 2 of the game-winning hits in the 5 extra inning games these teams have played over the last 2 years. And in addition to that, of course, was the winning pitcher in another one of those ball games back in May of 2012 in the 17-inning game. So he has beaten the Red Sox every way possible. And the pitch to Hardy's there for strike 1 and 2.
He's a multitasker. I mean, that game with the strikeout of Adrian Gonzalez was something you just never forget. That Gonzalez is trying to hit a home run. He gets the count, and then he strikes him out on it. About as good as split-fingered fastball we saw in 2012. And he did it just to pitch a little bit in high school and college, and there you go.
And he was joking after the game last night, thinking about whether or not once again he was going to have to pitch in the ball game. 2-2 delivery. Down to third, short hop, Middlebrooks.
Yeah, he's not getting any easy hops down there.
2 down. Maryland Lottery hit a big contestant of the game, Michael Long from Middle River. Michael, you've won $500 for being selected, $100 more for every Orioles hit, and $500 for any Orioles home run in the 5th inning. For your chance to be the Maryland Lottery hit a big contestant of the game, play 5-card cash and go to mdlottery.com/Orioles. So at 2 down, here's Chris Dickerson, the designated hitter in the ball game tonight. 2 down, and he will take the pitch up high for a ball. The Orioles are the #1 home run hitting team in the American League. Texas is ranked 2nd. The Red Sox are 4th in homers in the American League so far. These are numbers of players by the Orioles who've had some success against the Red Sox starter.
Yeah, he's just going to change speeds. Tough, really tough on the righties. That's why the numbers for Adam are glowing because of his slider. And then, as we mentioned, over 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. Haven't struck anybody out tonight, but a lot of that has to do with that split-fingered fastball that he uses as a changeup. But he's had 15 years, as we mentioned. This will be his 16th. And there's the splitter that just runs away. Started as a starter, then went to Cincinnati from the Marlins. Then he became a closer for the Cubs, and then he became a starter for the Cubs. And then last year, traded down to Texas.
And in all those years, has never pitched to Camden Yards before tonight. He adds another ballpark to his long list. That'll be fouled off by Dickerson, and that will hold the count at a ball and 2 strikes.
He used to throw in the mid-90s. We did see one in 91. Average fastball is 88. But what he can do is, if you tell him, okay, Chris Dickerson's a better fastball hitter, he's able to get you out with the slow stuff. In and out.
Here's the 1-2 delivery, and he's gone. So there is the first strikeout, but the Orioles pick up the run as Dempster has given up now 7 home runs to hitters leading off an inning, and that's exactly the best part for Chris Davis. That's when he gets them 1-0. Orioles baseball on Masson is brought to you by PNC Bank for the achiever in you, and by Antwerpen Toyota. When Jack says yes, you pay less at Antwerpen Toyota in Howard County Auto Park. Visit AntwerpenToyota.com today. Tomorrow is a 4 o'clock game, the third of the 4-game set. Freddie Garcia, John Lackey, the scheduled starters, and then Sunday at 1:30, Miguel Gonzalez and John Lester, the scheduled starters. A big crowd on hand for the ball game here in this Friday night, and weather-wise a spectacular night to be at the Yard. Here's Jacoby Ellsbury back to the top of the order against Tillman. Ellsbury grounded out his first time up and will take the pitch for a strike. Ellsbury's only had a couple of hits now in 19 at-bats against the Orioles on the season. Lifetime a .339 hitter against the Orioles. 0-1 pitch to him off the end of the bat towards second base. Flaherty surrounds it, gets the out. The latest voting numbers for the 2013 All-Star Game in. You've got Chris Davis, Hardy Jones, perhaps starting in that game. Machado, Wieters, Markakis, McLouth, all with a chance to be in there. So vote for your favorite now while voting continues at Orioles.com/voteorange. If you vote up to 35 times, you will be eligible for that All-Star jersey that's going to be autographed by the O's All-Stars. That's Orioles.com/voteorange. All-Star game coming up in New York at Citi Field. 1-0 count. Shane Victorino. Victorino a single, extending his hit streak to 8 games. Tillman's pitch to him will be inside 2-0.
Yeah, he seems to be very content. Maybe it'll change here 2-0, but you can see why, as we mentioned last night, it's very hard to strike out. He really hits the ball back up the middle, doesn't overswing, and you don't want to be walking guys in front of Pedroia and Ortiz.
Victorino has picked up a dozen free passes while striking out just 19 times. Remember, he's missed time, so it's only his 40th game of the season as he had been on the DL.
Yeah, the hamstring he hurt is that back hamstring, the left one.
And he draws the walk here. So Tillman has walked 3. This one with 1 away.
It just doesn't seem like he can get in a rhythm. Usually the velocity, as we mentioned, it gets better, but he did hit 92 once, but he's right around 90.
Tillman walked 4 in his first game of the year against Minnesota, and that is the high in walks on the year.
You know, almost as many balls as strikes tonight, and he averages 17.7, almost 18 pitches. And you know what the Red Sox want. They want him out of there. 13-inning game. Get to the bullpen as soon as you can.
Pedroia going after it, pops it up first base. Davis.
Does he see it? Yes, he does. Yeah.
Pedroia's 0 for 2.
And I'm wondering, right there at 92 out of nowhere and right in on the fist, really good fastball hitter. So I think part of Chris Tillman being 6'5", and yeah, he does have the camouflage hat, very deceptive windup, very easy, and then all of a sudden the ball jumps on you. Made a really good pitch to get Pedroia out. That's what it takes.
So a big second out, leaving the runner at first base, and here is David Ortiz. Ortiz started the day 10th in batting average at .306 in the American League. He's also driven in 49 runs, tied for 5th with his teammate Mike Napoli. And the throw over, and Victorino back to the bag. And Ortiz, of course, did not get going until after the season had started. He missed games since returning. Certainly hasn't missed anything at the plate. He's had 3 home runs in his last 6 ball games. 2 down, shift on. Ortiz will take it. Wieters blocks it. Ball 1. Tillman pitches by the book, if you will, with the idea of first strikes. If he gets the first strike, opponents hit only .203 against him. If he falls behind 1-0, the average jumps from .203 to .287. 1-0 count. That one goes the other way. McLouth is there. While the infield shifts, the outfield plays straight up on Ortiz, and he put it right where McLouth was standing. He could be on the skiff too. Military here. There's the swearing in ceremony that we talked about earlier. The colonel doing the work there and then throwing out the first pitch. Colonel Dillon, Colonel Rice, Sergeant Major Morin, and Colonel Rothstein. And then they took the field, military members, with the Orioles before the ball game for the national anthem. So great tributes tonight from the Orioles to a number of the military folks who are on hand and now are fans watching a ball game. Ground ball towards second base. Pedroia is there, and Flaherty on one pitch is the first out of the 3rd inning.
Yeah, Ryan Dempster is going to do the Oriole act tonight, where he's not going to mess around and walk anybody. And if you're a veteran pitcher, like we said, this is his 16th year. He's a jack of all trades. He used to throw in the mid-90s.
He only worked 5 innings in the game in Boston, giving up the 3 runs and 3 hits. The rain delay took him out of the ball game. He's a 43-minute rain delay. He did not return, so that's the only outing he's had against the Orioles this year, and he was non-decision. And the pitch will be taken up high. Nate McLouth, who flied out to left field his first time up. In for the Orioles, bottom half of the third inning, 1-0 lead on the Chris Davis home run. In at third base, Middlebrooks, infield shifted, playing him to pull. And pitched inside and missed, 2-1. Orioles have improved their home record now to 18-14. Red Sox still the best on the road at 20-13 in the American League, but Showalter's team, big 4-game series. I mean, all these games against the division teams this year are vital. Farrell's team has been in first place this season, 56 days now. They were never in first place last year for one day, and a lot of people thought they wouldn't be in first place ever this year. They have been a surprise team in that regard.
Well, they got healthy and they added some players, and nice to start out 18-8, which is what they did in the month of April.
Up high, McLouth will draw the walk out of him. Dunster surrenders his first free pass. With one away here in the third. The Orioles, when they win and score 5 or more runs, which they did yesterday, it means you get 50% off your regular menu price online order. Just enter promo code Orioles5 at papajohns.com when ordering. Valid at participating Baltimore area Papa John's. That applies for today. So it means, folks, get that half-price pizza for the ball game. Manny Machado.
So you got a veteran pitcher, really good throwing catcher. 42% last year, 37.5 over the last couple of years. Comes out of the, at least recently, talking about David Ross out of the Atlanta organization. So you know it's all about holding runners and what your pitching staff can do. And then some home runs, because that's what Atlanta has done a lot of this year.
One down, McLouth not going, and the pitch to Machado is strike. Against Dempster, base stealers are 6 out of 7. And McLouth taking a look at Bobby Dickerson, as is Manny Machado. Machado doubled his first time up, leads the majors in 2 baggers, and he has a career high 12-game hit streak. Decent lead at first base. Not going. Machado will take the pitch for a strike. Little wrinkle on that one too, and the count goes to 0-2 on Manny.
Yeah, he's only gotten 2 balls, fastballs in the middle of the plate, and Manny hit one of them for a double, and Chris Davis hit a home run to left center field. Other than that, he has really changed speeds well, mixed his pitches up, and stayed out of the middle of the zone, usually around the knees.
Here's the 0-2 delivery to him. Machado outside. Nice scoop made by Ross to keep that ball in play. Manny first in hits, first in doubles. He is 7th in runs and 8th in average. Coming into the games today, a real shot at going to the All-Star game as a selection. McLouth the opportunity with the stolen bases and the numbers he's put up, now hanging around the 300 batting average. And again, he'll be back to the bag. Nate and Ellsbury 1 and 2 in stolen bases. Ellsbury's got 30. Nate has 22 out of 24. Ellsbury out there in center field, the speedster for the Red Sox. Kevin Gausman being sent down. If you missed that today after the ball game last night, the Orioles starter, the youngster, went back to AAA, and Jake Arrieta has been called up. Arrieta is now available in the bullpen. But Showalter said he could be used as a starter if the need arises while he's here. But for now, he's in the pen as a long man. 1-2 delivery on the way down to first base hit by Carp. Making the turn, McLouth. He'll stay as Victorino gets it in. And there's pure Manny Machado. Find a way. Hit him where they ain't, then he does.
Yeah, he started doing this a little bit last year, but in spring training, boy, everybody you talk to, using the whole field, staying behind the ball. I mean, this is a good pitch. And because you have to hold the runner on, hard to defend that hole. I mean, that same hole for lefties is there for righties, and Manny uses it as well as anybody on this ball club.
Trying to reach the 100 hit mark before anybody else in baseball. He's got 93, 94 now with the 2 hits in the game. He also leads the American League with 27 multi-hit games. He was tied with Mike Trout and Miguel Cabrera coming into today's play. Nick Markakis. Orioles have runners on at first and second base. And that is in their first strike.
Take a look at our Jeep inside the numbers. This is what Nick Markakis does at home. And you can see the numbers. Third most. A lot of fastballs, changeups. This is why he's almost a lifetime 300 hitter. He can hit everything you throw up there. He hangs in there really well against lefties.
Inside to him from Dempster. Nick, a couple of hits, 7 at bats, including a home run off Ryan Dempster. The Orioles again with an opportunity here. They're 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. That coming in the first inning.
Yeah, made a good pitch on Nick. Just was able to get the ball down and in, but way in.
Markakis had to scoop that one out. Ellsbury in center. Trying to make a throw to third here. McLeod's going to go. Throw will come into second base instead. Markakis retired, and there are 2 away. Celebrate Father's Day at Oriole Park. The Birds hosting the Red Sox for the Sunday afternoon 1:35 game. First 10,000 men 21 and over will get the Father's Day travel kit. Make some new memories. Have a great day at the yard with the family. 888-848-BIRD or go to Orioles.com. Beautiful orchid from the daughter today. Gotta like that. For me.
You? Really?
Yeah.
Well, why not?
It's a nice Father's Day gift. Purple orchid. Just reminding everybody else out there who's got a dad.
Yeah.
It's always appreciated.
Yeah, my daughter Kelly said, "Where are you going to be?" I said, well, I'll be on my way to Detroit, but I'll be here at the ballpark.
That'll be a ground ball down to third. Middlebrooks is going to have a very tough play. Barehanded to save a run. Didn't get him. Base hit and an RBI for Adam Jones as Nate McLeod scores, and the Orioles lead it 2-0.
Yeah, good pitch. Bad result for Dempster. Adam Jones, a little jam shot the first time. This time a little, looks like a slider. Watch that ball just slide down and away. Try to cover it, but you hit it right off the end of the bat, and then that infield roller. And because, look how far Middlebrooks is back, and that's where he should be playing. But when you do hit this kind of ball, he makes it pretty close, but Adam runs too well. So there's your second run.
Adam Jones getting the RBI, number 40. And another 2-out base hit for Adam. And here's Chris Davis. Davis, his 22nd home run leading off the second inning. And that has become a habit for Chris Davis. 9 home runs leading off an inning this season. He is number 1 in the majors in doing so. It's pretty amazing. And he does it against Dempster, who, as we mentioned, has had a problem in reverse. Dempster has given up 7 home runs to hitters leading off an inning. He's given up 15 total. Chris now has a 4-game hit streak as well. Runners on first and second with 2 down. And Davis takes a strike.
Yeah, looking away and not going to swing it in. And that's the big difference I see in Chris Davis. It doesn't, if you go back to last night, he had struck out, 3 out of the last 4. And then he said, I had to get jammed. I have to wait a little longer. And he did. And he got the game winner in the 13th inning.
1-1 delivery on the way to him, and that's going to be fouled off. An off-speed delivery off the end of the bat, 1-2.
So in and out, add a little bit, take a little bit off. That's what Ryan Dempster's all about at this particular time in his career. Turned 36 earlier this season.
1 ball, 2 strike count on Davis. That walk to McLeod resulting in a base runner who scored. Davis is going to go to Pedroia, who's got it. and hangs on. But the Orioles will pick up 1 run on a couple of hits. 2 are left on base. Orioles up by 2. The first American League team has 71 to win 2 games of 18 or more innings in a season. They did that against the Yankees last night. The A's-Yankees umpires in that game, they were just coming off a 16-inning game that they'd done on June 5. Think how happy they were. And the Cubs yesterday beat the Reds 6-5 and 14. The night before, the Blackhawks beat the Bruins 3 overtimes. If you take the total combined time for those 2 teams, they took 9 hours and 45 minutes to put 2 W's up on the game, because the Blackhawks game started at 7:22 Central and ended with the winning goal at 00:00 midnight. And in each case, those teams said they'd have gone on forever if it would have meant a W. Some long games. In fact, this year's already, I think they're only 1 game shy of the most extra innings played in the first half of a major league season. Something like that. The numbers are way up in extra inning ball games and number of innings played.
Well, we went out to play the Angels, talking about the Orioles in early May. They had just lost to the A's in that first game. I think went 21 innings, and then Jerome Williams, he had pitched 6 innings in relief. And that's how he got his first start. They go, well, you pitched on Monday, you can pitch on Saturday. If you're tuned you up, a little 6 innings in that extra inning game.
2 ball, 1 strike count. Tillman's delivery, and he got that one by him.
Yeah, he just missed a 3-run home run in the first inning on a changeup. He just got under it, and as we mentioned, he's been red hot and hitting over 440 coming in the month of June with a lot of power.
Carp will take the pitch down low. Mike Carp, 327 on the year, and month of June has certainly added to those numbers. Tillman's delivery to him, and Carp will take it up high. So there's the 4th walk, equaling a season high. And it is a leadoff walk here in the 4th inning. Our PNC minor league report brought to you by PNC Bank. For the achiever in you take a look at the numbers for Mike Wright with Bowie AA last night against Reading, and on the year 6-0, 3.92 ERA. Solid numbers. You see the innings pitched and the strikeouts almost the same, and only less than half number of walks surrendered. Mike Wright.
Well, Chris came in at 68% of the leadoff of every inning, getting them out. That number's going down tonight. It's just not a good habit to get into. He's trying to establish all his pitches. He's thrown 1 curveball over. He's probably thrown 10 or 11 of them. And then probably hit the best command tonight is with the changeup. He doesn't throw that many of them. I think he threw 16 in his last game, which is a seasonal high in one particular game.
And that's foul back. Nava got one to try and drive right there. Leadoff batter has been on now twice in the 4 innings. Both these pitchers have had their problems with that. Tillman retires 67% of leadoff batters, and for Ryan Dempster only 60%, which is a fairly low number for a starting pitcher to have that many guys on to start. 1 ball, 1 strike count on Nava. Good lead at first for Carp. Davis holding the bag on him, and the pitch is taken down low. 1 ball, 1 strike count. Now here with a left-handed batter, if you look at Davis at first, rather than playing that off the bag holding position, even with this left-handed batter up, he is on the bag. The infield is shifted over, so it covers a little bit of that hole between first and second, with Flaherty cheating towards first base. 2-1 delivery on the way, and foul back again.
You see, so the velocity's going up, but you keep getting in these 2-0, 2-1, 2-2 counts. Sooner or later, the Red Sox are going to do some damage. And it won't really matter for Chris Tillman, as he did last year when they got him almost 6 runs a game. This year it's at 5.78. They've been scoring runs for him. But you only have 2 to work with tonight so far.
2-2 delivery on the way. Nava with a chopper to first base. Davis will put the tag on him on the way by. And Carp will move down to second base. 1 away. Our Volkswagen baseball moment in history is brought to you by Volkswagen. In 1876, George Hall became the first Major League Baseball player ever to hit 4 the cycle. And in 1985, Baltimore's own Earl Weaver came back, returned to manage, taking over for Joe Antebelli, who had replaced him and would stay with the Orioles for a couple more seasons.
And they said, Earl, why did you do it? He said, green fees for the rest of my life.
There you go. There's always an answer. Runner on at second base, and the pitch is strike. Volkswagen Springtoberfest event going on now. Visit VWDealer.com today. Iglesias lined out his first time up, runner at second, and 1 out. Tillman has thrown 10 out of 16 first pitch strikes in the game. Bunting for a base hit. He had Manny Machado back. Barehanded throw. Nope. A real good bunt by Iglesias, and he'll get the infield single.
Yeah, he looked like he was going to try to bunt the first time, ended up lining up, and he can run. I mean, Manny plays it well, quickly. He's back, though, and so they're looking for base runners, and you could see he's well across the bag.
And a 15-game hit streak now for Iglesias. Boy, it's getting hard to keep him out of the lineup. Not that you want to particularly, but John Farrell has a tough time with that short third situation as to who plays and who doesn't. So now first and third with 1 away. 4 hits for the Orioles. The Red Sox putting up just their second hit. Their base runners have come via the walk. Victorino had a single in the first inning, and the single by Iglesias just their second, even though they have stranded 4 in the ballgame. Middlebrooks flied out his first time up. He is 0 for 4 off Tillman.
And he'd like to do that again, get a run in, stay off the ground.
Inside, stayed in, 2-0.
Yeah, this is a night where Chris Tillman does not, to this point, have his command. And that bunt goes down as a base hit with a runner in scoring position. It just doesn't get the runner in. It gets him to third. I'm going to leave that up to Middlebrooks.
2-0 count. And he will take the pitch for a strike, 2-1. Red Sox with the 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position last night. Amazingly, leaving only 4 on base through 13 innings. Part of that because of the fact the Orioles didn't walk anybody. 2 ball, 1 strike count. Tillman will deliver, and outside, and he falls behind 3-1. So edging closer to his pitching coach, kind of sliding down the bench. Throw over. Remember, the Orioles last night, Mattis, Hunter, O'Day, Patton, McFarland all pitched in the ball game. Hunter, you would believe, is not available. 2 1/3. Inning and a third for both O'Day and Brian Mattis. You'd like to keep them out. McFarland worked an inning. Patton 2/3 of an inning could work. So Pedro Strop did not pitch
and has been struggling. So
3-1 delivery shattered the bat. Fly ball, shallow right, runner not tagging. Markakis makes the catch and a big out on Middlebrooks. Carp at third base was trying to watch both the bat and the ball at the same time. The barrel went right by him at third.
We'll take a look right here. 3-1, good fastball hitter, but the deception. I mean, this guy lives to hit the fastball. We saw him last year on his way to, in 75 games, 15 home runs, and he just saws them off. And when he does that, the ball can't go far enough for them to send the runner. Big time hitters count at 3-1.
Brian Butterfield really had to help Carp that time, the third base coach, because Carp didn't know where the ball was. He was watching the barrel of the bat, and Butterfield was hollering to him as to where it was and telling him it wasn't deep enough to go. So 2 down, still first and third. Here's Ross. David Ross flied out and will take the pitch inside for a ball. The Red Sox overall in the year, right with the Orioles. Runner in scoring position number as a team, hitting at 280. They're fifth. The Orioles 282 are fourth. So they've had pretty good numbers, but of late they've had trouble getting people in.
Yeah, well, check out David Ross at 1 for 12.
1-0 delivery on the way, and a really bad cut and a good pitch.
Well, take a look at your Nissan pitch track, and a lot of times you do it on purpose, and you just see kind of fluctuating velocity from Chris Tillman, and there's no way, the way his command is tonight, you can look for one area of the plate. He's thrown some down and away, up and in, up and away, all over the place. So deceptively wild.
1-1 delivery to Ross. Tillman gets ahead on the count, of ball and 2 strikes. Red Sox getting a leadoff walk to Carp. He got moved up by Iglesias with a bunt single with 1 away. Now 2 down. First inning, Red Sox left 2-1. This is the first base runner they've had to third base in the game.
Yeah, Iglesias in the minors league, 12 stolen bases a year, so he could run a little bit. But the one thing, when you look at the numbers, 52% for Matt Wieters, it's just they don't run because of his ability to throw people out. So if Iglesias is going to run, he better make it, because you'll be right out of the inning with the way Wieters throws.
Here's the 1-2 delivery, runner not going, and it wouldn't have mattered. Tillman gets his first strikeout right when he needed it. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 2 left on base. The Orioles lead. set on Military Appreciation Night here at the ballpark. Another real fine start. Davis, Major League leading 22nd home run. Put the Orioles on the board. Little Oriole magic right there. Hunter and O'Day. McLeod coming across the plate. And the second Oriole run. And the Orioles under the red, white, and blue have a 2-0 lead here at Camden Yards. Jones, by the way, getting that second RBI, and there's Chris, who had the home run. Ryan Dempster on the mound, a flick of the glove, and Wieters puts it up in the air to right field. Down the line, it is deep, and it is a foul ball. That was a monster shot up in the air right by the foul pole.
Yeah, he gets all over this high fastball, and Matt has a tendency he can do that.
Now the leadoff batter almost getting a home run. It didn't miss by very much. Matt with the 1 for 6 lifetime off Ryan Dempster. Wieters, Hardy, and Dickerson are due up. That will miss inside.
Deep inside the numbers, and this 54 hits this year, 33 on fastballs. Tried to make it 34, 9 with the breaking balls, and then 12 on changeups. And of course, he is a switch hitter, so nice little slider. Haven't seen too many of those tonight. Only 2 balls have been hit hard all night. He's trailing 2-0. 1 a home run and 1 a double.
Ground ball right back to him. Makes the play over the cart. Wieters retired. The Orioles are proud to celebrate Flag Day and the Army's birthday by wearing special jerseys and caps featuring the camouflage pattern. After the game, the jerseys will be autographed by the player or coach wearing it, authenticated, and made available for auction at Orioles.com/auction. Proceeds are going to benefit the Fort Meade Alliance Resiliency Center Fund. So place your bids. Visit Orioles.com/auction. We talk about the authentication. Major League Baseball has become a very protective of that. There were so many autographed items out there signed by clubbies and other people. Major League Baseball now has a whole system and a group of people who travel around authenticating autographs in situations like this. So you know what you get.
I remember when Don Mattingly was playing for the Yanks. Where it is going, boy, can you get a Mattingly ball? And they said, you mean a real one? Or
one autograph by the clubby, yeah.
No, we had Neil Cashin was one of our bat boy. He could do the whole ball.
Whole ball. Wow, every autograph.
Frank Cashin's nephew, who was
really?
You know Frank. Well,
yeah,
of course. Yeah, do the whole ball. I could do Louis Aparicio, and the reason I could do Louis is when I broke in 1975, the league maximum was $7,000. Louis made $72,000 tax-free. Venezuela, and I used to imagine that, so I used to practice just writing Luis Aparicio.
And Hardy takes a strike.
Boy, if I could ever make $72,000, I mean,
yeah. How did you think you were going to do that by autographing?
Well, I just wanted to be Louis.
Oh,
I just wanted his bank account.
Don't go any further on advice of counsel.
Yeah, right.
Pitches up high, and Hardy gets the walk. That's the second walk surrendered by Dempster. Mid-Atlantic Sports Report continues on Monday. Tom Davis, Dave Johnson, Mel Anton, and Phil Wood. They'll recap this big weekend against the Red Sox and a preview of the upcoming road trip where the Orioles are headed to Detroit and then on to Toronto. That's the Mid-Atlantic Sports Report, Monday 5 to 6:30. 1 on, 1 down. Chris Dickerson up. Dickerson, a strikeout victim, his first time up. Dempster 2 walks and a strikeout. Tillman 4 walks and 1 strikeout.
Yeah, for Ryan Dempster, the walks up
gets away, and that'll be a wild pitch.
I was going to say the walks up a little more than he would like this year. And I think the reason, and we'll take a look right here, the little breaking ball, a splitter that goes down and just bounces. David Ross can't keep it in front of him. But when you become a veteran pitcher and your velocity drops, sometimes when you get behind a hitter like J.J. Hardy, you know he has powers. You pitched against him in the National League. You've done your homework. You pitch around him a little bit, or you try to make the perfect pitch. And He almost has a walk every 2 innings, which is high for him.
1-0 delivery on the way. Dickerson will take it for a strike. That is the 5th wild pitch thrown by Dempster this year. So the Orioles get a runner into scoring position with only one away. Hardy, the walk in the wild pitch at second base. Dickerson, 1 for 1 in the ball game last night. He has a couple of hits and 5 at bats against the Red Sox on the year, and he'll let that pitch go by. And the count goes to 2-1.
Well, you mentioned he had never pitched here at Camden Yards, but this is the first time in his first 3 starts against the Orioles. Never gave up more than a run. So to get 2 runs off Ryan Dempster, you're having a good night. You want to get more, though.
He has walked as many as 6 in a ball game and 4 in 2 other games. 2-1 delivery on the way, and that's going to miss inside. 3-1.
So there we go. The Eck who's next door. Those are one or few runners. Then Todd Stottlemyre, the son of Mel Stottlemyre. Dallas Braden. Steve Comer. Thought he was an outfielder.
3-1 delivery on the way, and did not get a good cut on that one.
There was a Steve Comer, because Steve Comer was playing center field the night that Boog Powell at the old ballpark, 6 Stadium, hit a inside the park home run. You do not forget that night. And I saw Boog today. He looked great.
I did. I saw him outside today.
He was everywhere, as always.
Had the Boog's barbecue shirt on. 3 ball, 2 strikeout. Dickerson, runner off second base, and fooled on the pitch, as he did not get a good cut on the last 2.
Well, expecting maybe the local, and got the express. Soft and softer, and then zipped it right away. Probably a little bit off the outside corner, but
Ryan Dempster with 2 strikeouts in the game. Runner at second, 2 down. And that will bring up Ryan Flaherty.
So it's actually, I had last name was Comer. It was Wayne Comer who was playing center field that night. Had gone to the who were they, the Seattle, whatever they were.
Pilots?
Yeah, the Pilots. Yeah, he had been an expansion player.
2 down, and Flaherty shows bunt.
Almost.
Hardy had a big jump at second base, and trying to get him behind him was Iglesias.
Well, it's 2 outs. We want a base hit. It'd be different if you bunted a lot.
The Orioles 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position in the ball game. Ryan Flaherty, Hardy on at second. 2-0 Orioles lead. Orioles out hitting the Red Sox 4-2. And the pitch will miss. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, we saw Jim Presley, the Oriole hitting instructor, on Tuesday out with Chris Davis, and he would stand down the third baseline and he would do the soft toss, trying to feel like if you're left-handed, Chris being a left-handed hitter, the shoulder stays in. Today was Ryan Flaherty's turn to do that. Trying to stay closed, use the whole field. Did hit a double last night to left.
1 ball, 1 strike over to him. That'll go to first base. Carp is there. The flip made. Dempster gets over to cover. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 left on base. Orioles still lead it. The one-run ball game last night. Gary Thorne, Jim Palmer back. Jim, maybe a comment. Kevin Gossman got sent down. Buck Showalter said, look, I didn't make any promises to him. He could be there all year at AAA, where he's never pitched, or he could be back here next week. It's up to him.
Right, and Miguel Gonzalez, his wife Lucia, is pregnant, expecting on the 19th. So you get the bereavement, you never know. I thought he pitched well enough last night. He made some adjustments. You know, he's got 3 pitches, but his best 2 are fastball and changeup. Matt Wieters and Kevin did a great job. The Red Sox #1 offense, only 2 runs through 6 innings, so or 5 2/3. So he gave him a chance to win. And you know, tonight we're seeing exactly the same. You know, Dempster's on a 2-game winning streak. Tillman's won his last 3, and the score is 2-0.
And Jake Arrieta gets another chance. He's back up to work out of the bullpen.
They want him to succeed. He just has to figure out how he can do it, and maybe being in the bullpen where you don't have to think. We saw what happened with Brian Mattis. I mean, think about every 5 days where you can just warm up, come into the game. You have some of the best stuff. There's not a guy that I've ever met, scout or whatever, baseball person, that says what's going on with him. I mean, he's got too good a stuff not to have some success.
So we'll see how this plays out. But as you saw, he is out there in the bullpen for tonight. Red Sox batting with Jacoby Ellsbury at the top of the order. Ellsbury has gone 0 for 2 and 0 for 7 in the first 2 games of this series, and he will take that for a strike. Tillman, 2-0 lead. Davis a home run. Jones a single. Red Sox have had at least 1 runner on in each inning. They have already stranded 6, 2 in scoring position. Orioles have had a runner on in every inning. 1-2 delivery, and that'll be up high. The Red Sox have not been able to take advantage of getting 2 leadoff walks, 1 in the 2nd, 1 in the 4th. Those runners both obviously ended up stranded.
Well, what it's done, though, is the pitch count at 75, which is higher than you want. And he's a walking double. If he gets on with 30 steals, he did get thrown out last night once, but did steal a base. What has he got? 9 stolen bases, 6 straight games that Ellsbury's been able to steal a base, 9 of them in those 6 games.
2-2 delivery to him. Ellsbury's going to go down swinging. 2 strikeouts for Tillman.
Well, that's good news, because there's the sky hook. And this is a pitch early on in the year, 45% of the time. Look at your Nissan pitch track. Try to track that. I mean, you could have a Pathfinder, you could have 4-wheel drive. You couldn't hit that curveball.
So Tillman gets the first out in the 5th inning. Victorino a single and a walk. 8-game hit streak for him, and a couple of hits in this series as he is 2 for 7. 32-year-old out of Hawaii, and he will take the pitch. Victorino, a staple part of some good days in Philadelphia when they were winning. He played there from 2005 through last season, went to the Dodgers for part of the season, and now here with the Red Sox, and a 1-ball 1-strike count. A very solid 275 career major league batting average. John Farrell's got him out there in right field. 1-1 delivery, and that'll be in the air to center. Jones. On Thursday, June 27th, the first 10,000 fans 15 and over at the Orioles 7:05 game with the Indians will receive the Birdland Beach Towel, presented by Visit Sarasota County. Show your colors at the beach, at the pool, and all summer long with a great fun beach towel. It's yours. 888-848-BIRD or Orioles.com. June 27. Game against the Indians. Dustin Pedroia with 2 down and nobody on, outside for a ball. Pedroia has flied out, popped out 1 for 7 in the 2 games. .323 lifetime hitter against the Orioles. 5 for 16 off Tillman. 1-0 delivery to him. That is outside. The epitome of a conscience of a team, Dustin Pedroia. Want to know how well you're playing, how hard you're trying? Measure yourself by Dustin Pedroia. Here's the 2-0 pitch, and a strike on the outside corner from Tillman.
Yeah, he changed his arm angle, and I think it changed him. And when does he ever take a 93-mile-per-hour fastball, even though he threw it well right down the middle? He usually leaves earth. But every once in a while, the arm will just drop a little bit. It does on the cutter like that. That's 88, 5 miles. But you have a 2-0 lead, and you look on deck, and how can you miss the shadow of David Ortiz? So you have to make Pedroia put the ball in play.
He dives to short. Hardy is there. And the out recorded. So Tillman has a clean inning, the first of the ball game. 9 fly ball outs, 4 on the ground, and 2 Ks. And is brought to you by Outback Steakhouse. It's always fresh in the Outback. And by Ocean City, Maryland. Book your Ocean City, Maryland vacation at OCOcean.com. Big crowd on hand here tonight, close to a sellout. And folks enjoying a beautiful evening and a great baseball game again. Orioles with the 2-0 lead as we go to the bottom half of the 5th inning. Brian Flaherty. Last out, Nate McLouth leading it off here. McLouth a walk, scored. He is flied out. The Orioles get the top of the order up here with Machado and Marquez to follow. Hitting at 284 now on the year. And the pitch outside to him for a ball, 2-0.
Yeah, 41 runs now scored for Nate McLouth, and he doesn't play every day.
In the order against the right-handers, leading off. Marquez takes that spot against the left-handers, and he makes pitchers work as he gets this count to 3-0. Nate, one of the hardest to strike out in the league. 3-0 delivery to him, taken all the way, and that was 4 straight, and he is on a leadoff walk. That is the 3rd walk surrendered by Dempster. Time for the 5th inning home run bonus. This inning only. Tonight's Maryland Lottery hit a big contestant of the game will get $500 for any Orioles home run. Michael Long has already won $900 tonight. For your chance to be the Maryland Lottery hit a big contestant of the game, play 5-card cash. Go to mdlottery.com to enter. Now let's see if the Orioles can take advantage of the leadoff walk.
Now you get normal 20-year-old guys, and we talked about the fact that his last home run was the 5th of May, but he hits the ball, and we saw it, double down the line, single into right. He can move the runners. Ideal second place hitter. Not afraid to hit deep in the count. How many kids at 20, they're so anxious, they're swinging at pitches and whatever, but not many. So if you're going to let McLouth run, and you know Dempster and Ross, who's a good throwing catcher, is certainly aware of that. He doesn't mind maybe taking a pitch or two.
Machado with nobody out waiting. And a strike in the outside corner. Doesn't walk a lot, 14 walks, 42 strikeouts. He puts the ball in play. Manny's had, along with those major league leading 29 doubles, 2 triples, and 5 home runs, has consistently had one of the better numbers against right-handers. His average against right-handers is 4th best in the American League. And that's what you see a lot of. 0-1 count. McLeod off first base leaning, not going. Machado will take it away for a ball.
Well, I'm looking down here and I'm looking at Manny's back foot. I remember Tommy Davis played for us for a while, one of the great hitters coming up with the Dodgers till he broke his ankle, and he could still nice DH and whatever, but he hit second the year that Maury Wills stole 100 bases, and he said, I moved deeper in the box, because then what does the catcher have to do? He saw catcher's interference last night. He's got to sit farther away from second base. And you can see Dempster, he's hold the ball, he's going to slide step, he's going to do everything. He's going to throw over. The last thing he wanted to do was walk Nate McLeod, coming into the third time through the heart of the order.
Red Sox have given up a lot of stolen bases, 50 stolen bases against them. You compare that to the Orioles, who've given up 17. 1 ball, 1 strike count. Runner not going off the end of the bat and back. Foul. So Machado 1-2.
And that was Dempster just almost balked, barely stopped. And the Dempster also, he actually pretty much the same pitch count per inning as Chris Tillman. Almost 18 an inning over the course of their first 13 starts.
Ross sets up outside. Machado will take that. He can go to right, and he did. It's a foul ball. Big hole between first and second, with Karp holding the bag, and Manny Machado got behind on that last at bat. 2 strikes on him, and he took a ball that was away, maybe even out of the strike zone, and drove it by Karp, who was holding the bag, into right field.
There's nothing more annoying, whether you're 20 or you're 30 or you're 40, if you hit a good pitch, and that's what he did. First one was just a fastball in the middle of the plate. That's the one he doubled on. The other one was a pitcher's pitch. Come in on him now.
1 ball, 2 strike count. Runner not going, and the pitch will be up high. Something a little bit off speed there. I'm not sure. It almost looked like a knuckleball delivery as he discused that one up there. 2-2.
Yeah, I think what happened is a lot of times when you're not a power pitcher and you're used to pitching down, but you want to pitch up, you really stay under it. So it's almost like he threw the ball uphill.
Like a shot put.
And that's why it looked like he was so far under it.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Nobody out. McLeod not going, and he got him on a pitch away. Foul tipped into the mitt.
And he can't believe it's not that pitch, because this is a perfect slider. Watch this slider. He stays behind it and pulls right at the end, so it looks like a fastball till just then. And it just slides away. That's why the good slider has that tight spin, and that was about as well as you can throw it.
Was foul tipped. Ross held on to it for the first out, and that will bring up Nick Markakis. Nick has grounded out, flied out. 1 hit, 8 at bats in the first 2 games at .288 on the year for Markakis. McLeod at first with Jones on deck. Middlebrooks moving in at third. Pitch out. They had it. Can they get him? Nope. McLeod goes over the bag, and Iglesias tried to deke him by running out towards center like he didn't have the ball. McLeod's got a stolen base.
Well, you can see when you slide feet first that what happens. I mean, he gets a great jump, and Ross can throw 42%. So sometimes you'll slide right by the bag, and he hits the top of the bag with his spikes and just keeps going. This is how that 19-game streak ended the other day, with Ibar applying the tag as he came into the bag. So he hits it and just kind of slides through it, and can tell you how fast you're going and how quickly he can start and stop, or at least try to stop.
You saw Iglesias start running out to center like the ball had gotten by him. Markakis down to first. That's a fair ball. Karp will play it to the bag, and there are 2 away with a runner at third base. In our Major League Notebook, under East wins the Eastern Division, the Blue Jays have won 6 of the past 9, 5 of them decided by 1 or 2 runs. They're playing a lot of close ball games. Tampa Bay Rays staff wouldn't have believed that they'd be doing this. They've allowed double-digit runs 7 times this year, 1 shy of the total times. That happened from 2011 to 2012 seasons combined. And Teixeira, Hafner, Youkilis, and Wells in that long ball game last night, 0 for 28 for the Yankees in that loss at Oakland in the extra inning affair.
Yeah, how about the Yanks scoring 2 in the first and then never scoring for the next 17?
The only person about is Gardner right now in the lineup.
But you also get the impression what I saw some number about the A's that won 101 out of their last 160 some games at home. And then one of the best teams in baseball last year with 94 wins. And they've gotten it going again.
Pitch will be taken inside by Jones. RBI single. It came with 2 down in the 3rd inning. 1 for 2 in the ball game, and here he is again with a chance. Orioles 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. They've stranded 4. McLouth is over there at third base. Here's the 1-1 delivery, and Adam puts it up in the air to center. Ellsbury. He's got it, and that will end the inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and a base runner left on. The Orioles on top 2-0. Head and shoulders. Chris Tillman, the Orioles starter in this ball game, picking up a couple of strikeouts so far, and important ones, especially in the 4th inning when he got Ross. Dempster on the other side has had 3 strikeouts in the ball game. 2 fly ball pitchers getting their fly ball out so far in the ball game, along with those strikeouts.
Yeah, Chris Tillman, that first strikeout at 94, hardest fastball he's thrown, threw it right by David Ross. So it doesn't get easier with the big guy, Big Poppy, leading it off here in the 6th.
A walk and a fly ball out for David Ortiz. Ortiz, lifetime against the Orioles now, .261 with 35 career home runs. And he will take the pitch for a ball, leading off the 6th inning. Orioles runs holding up, 1 in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd for the 2-0 lead. That's in there. Yeah,
and boy, is that a good curveball. It's a feel pitch. Boy, you come out of the bullpen, you have a good one, and then you wonder where it went. And then you hope you'll find it. Down low to it. Ortiz here at Camden Yards has hit .248 in his career. He's had over almost 340 at bats here in this ballpark. He's got 16 home runs. And the thought about it, did he go? Nope. Jim Joyce. 3 ball, 1 strike count on Ortiz. Yeah, it didn't appear to swing. Not even close. Big and strong. 3-1 delivery by Tillman, and he got it up in the air. Right field. Well, we've seen the emergence, Gary, of Chris Tillman really feeling comfortable with that changeup. The last 2 games, curveballs and changeups. You wondered why he threw so many home runs, 16 coming in, leading the American League. Because that probably would have been a fastball, and Ortiz would have left Earth. Got fooled on the changeup, 3-1 count. First out recorded here in the 6th inning. Only 2 leadoff batters have been on, both one via the walk in the 4th inning, 1 the walk
in the second. Here's Mike Carp. And Carp will take it up high for a ball. Carp reached on the walk in the fourth, and he is flied out. Carp now with a hit in 4 at-bats, the home run in the ball game last night here in this series. Carp will take the pitch away. Tillman continues to fall behind hitters, but has been able to come back and find a way to get the outs.
Well, his command's not good, but the stuff has been pretty good. And the pitch count now at 92, so you're looking maybe this inning, and there's a strike, and maybe another one.
Only 10 for 23 in first pitch strikes in the ball game, less than half. 2 ball, 1 strike count. That's the extent of my math, by the way. And a strike taken, called at the letters, which Carp was not particularly happy about. 2-2.
Well, Corey Blazers had a high strike zone all night long. The low one, don't think about it. And nicely brought back into the strike zone very subtly by Matt Wieters.
And the delivery will miss away. Carp getting a lot of chances here this year with the bat working. He's been in 38 of the 57 games. Last year he had a little playing time here, 2 of the first 12. That ball put up in the air. Jones is back. He's got it. What Jim was talking about in our notebook on the page, streaks. The A's have won 11 consecutive games at home and 108 of the last 168 home games. An amazing home record. The Yankees have contributed to that by losing 7 straight games in Oakland. In the National League, Adam Wainwright, St. Louis, 7 innings or more, no home runs in 11 of his 14 starts this season. Those 11 are the most in the majors.
Got 10 wins.
First pitcher to reach 10.
Yeah, I think Matt Scherzer, we're going to get him Monday night. He's 9-0. But that'll change. Maybe.
0-1 count. Tillman's delivery. And it's taken down low. 2 down, nobody on. Nava walk, and he's grounded out.
Yeah, you don't know what Tillman's going to throw tonight. He'll throw changeup. Not that he's commanding him. He throws them. He'll be high with his fastball. He'll come back. The ground ball was on a 3-1 changeup. So he has told the Red Sox by his actions, yeah, I might not have my best command, but I am totally unpredictable.
So watch this.
Yes, well, right.
2-1 delivery on the way, and that'll be up high. 3 ball, 1 strike count. He's pitching a 2-hit shutout. He's got a 2-0 lead in the ball game in the first outing against the Red Sox. He gave up 2 runs on 6 hits and 5 1/3. 6 hits were singles. In this ball game, the 2 hits are singles. 3-1 delivery, and that's fouled. 3-2.
I mean, Daniel Nava is probably, that's what, his 4th aired out swing on high fastball, and just can't quite get to it. You bring it down about 3 or 4 inches, might be a little different.
102nd pitch of the ball game coming for Tillman. 3 ball, 2 strike count on Nava. And he got him. 3 strikeouts. And another 1-2-3 inning. That's 8 in a row retired by Tillman.
Hi, I'm Nate McLeod with the Baltimore Orioles, and I just want to say thank you to all past and current members of the United States military for protecting and defending our country.
Getting it done, protecting that 2-0 lead, just 2 hits. Let's take a look at our Lexus Towson drive of the game as you look at Chris Davis.
They got the hard double by Machado early on, and then the 22nd. Just a fly ball. That's what he hits. I mean, pretty got out of here in a hurry. And there's your Lexus drive of the game. He makes it 2-0.
And batting again here, our drive of the game brought to you by Lexus of Towson, Baltimore's #1 Lexus dealer. See why at lexusoftowson.com.
Yes, if you're a Ryan Dempster, you would like to have 2 outs, and then you could just kind of either make your pitch or. But leading off an inning is tough.
That ball will be fouled outside of first. The pitcher who gives up leadoff homers and the batter who hits them. That's what it was in the second, and that's the way it's been for both Dempster and Davis this season. 1 ball, 1 strike count. Bottom half of the 6th inning. The Orioles trying to take their second from John Farrell's ball club. The Orioles have won 12 of the last 16 played against the Red Sox. 1-1 delivery, and he was going for another. Swings through it, 1-2.
And remember, one of the keys to the game was mixed support for Ryan Dempster. When he wins, in his 4 wins, they got him 33 runs. When he loses, they got him 7 runs in his 6 losses. But he can't do much about that. All they can do is try to keep the Orioles from scoring. And there's a perfect breaking ball.
That's 4 strikeouts recorded by Dempster.
Well, averages 1 an inning. A little bit of more than 1 inning. And this 1 and 2. Look at where Ross slides. David Ross is a big guy that moves well. And then he just throws him a little slider. You think it's going to be a strike. Bottom falls out.
Waiters an 0 for 2 in the game. Matt will take that to second base where Dustin Pedroia resides. 2 down. Orioles June 30 game against the Yankees is now an 8:05 start to accommodate ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Get your tickets, show Birdland Pride and paint the park orange. Get your tickets in advance at 888-848-BIRD to go to Orioles.com. That's June 30 is now a Sunday night game. 2 down, nobody on. That'll bring up Hardy, who has walked and grounded out. And JJ takes the pitch for a strike. Dempster moving along here with the 4 hits surrendered, but enough for the Orioles to have that 2-0 lead, and otherwise it's been about the pitchers.
Yeah, he can pitch, as is Chris Tillman. Dempster looks like, even though he's given up the 2 runs, certainly in command of his stuff, has a great idea of what he wants to try to do.
1-1 delivery, a ground ball to third base, and Middlebrooks has got it. He'll make the play to first. That will retire the side. That's going to be 6 in a row retired by Dempster. Tillman's coming back out.
Davis, first run for the Orioles, 22nd home run of the year, left center. in the second inning. And then in the third inning, Adam Jones with 2 outs. McLouth, who had walked with 1 out, ends up scoring on the 2-out infield hit. And then 94 gets Ross. As Tillman gets out of problems, and Nava goes down on a high fastball. So both of these pitchers pitching very well. Dempster doesn't walk as many, struck out more, a little more efficient, but he's the one so far that's given up the runs. 2 of them tonight.
And Chris Tillman ready to work here. Bottom third of the order. Iglesias will take the pitch for a strike.
And Geico saving people money on more than just car insurance.
Iglesias in the ball game with a base hit his last time up. He's 1 for 2, 15-game hit streak for him, and a strike taken. Darren O'Day in the bullpen for the Orioles. During the streak, Iglesias has had 23 hits, 52 at-bats. 0-2 delivery to him will be fouled away. As we said, sharing time with Stephen Drew at short. A veteran player, Drew, also has come into play at third base, trying to give Middlebrooks a bit of a rest and keep Iglesias' bat in. He's back at short tonight. That's the first. That'll be a base hit down the line. Going over to get it, Nick Markakis. Iglesias will go into second base in a hurry with a leadoff double.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. Not a great 0-2 pitch because it was not a horrible one, but it's you could bounce it, you could throw it in. But when you're as hot as he is, closing in on 500 in the month of June, you're able to hit that pitch, and it sets up the inning.
So Tillman now with the leadoff man on again, this time at second base. Third time out of 7 innings leadoff man's been on, and Buck Showalter's coming. Strange ball game when you look at the numbers that Buck Showalter just feels. This is one of those gut feels that Tillman's been off tonight, but been able to come back and get things done. And he's just worried he's not going to be able to do it again.
Yeah, I think he's looking at the pitch count at 106. But yeah, it's maybe not his best command, but he certainly can battle you with the best of them.
For again, and Tillman's got a chance to get his 7th victory of the year.
So our scouting report, well, winning 6 wins, could win tonight, so certainly puts him in a position. 16 home runs in 13 starts. Didn't throw any tonight. No June swing, swoon, because he's been pitching so well. So once again, he gives them a chance to win. The bullpen last night, 6 1/3 innings of scoreless baseball. They'd certainly like to see that. Darren Day with an inning and a third of it. Big strikeout of Shane Victorino with a potential go-ahead run. So there are the numbers. Doesn't walk hardly anybody. More than a strikeout per inning for Darren. Lefties hit him better than righties. Look at that number by right-handers, 111. And been able to, against both of them, keep the ball in the ballpark.
So Darren O'Day comes on with a runner at second base, nobody out. 7th inning. Middlebrooks up. Middlebrooks has flied out twice. Middlebrooks 0 for 4 lifetime against O'Day, as the Red Sox will try and make a run here in the 7th inning. And first ball hitting down the line in right. Nick Markakis, a long run, was playing the other way.
Whoa.
And right off the wall. Both the ball and Nick. We talked about the foul balls Tillman picks up in games. He had 19 foul balls of the 106 pitches thrown. Came in with the 3rd most foul balls by batters.
And while the runner at second is significant because it's a run, you have a 2-run lead, and the guy at the plate is your tying run.
O'Day's given up nothing against the Red Sox this year. This is his 4th game. He's worked 3 1/3 innings and struck out 4. Middlebrooks, the 0-1 delivery to him. 1 ball, 1 strike count.
He would love to hit something to the right side, and of course what Darren O'Day does so well, that 111 batting average against righties, he throws that front hip breaking ball, and it's hard to hit it to right field. The Red Sox just have to get on the board some way.
1 ball, 1 strike count. And that's a broken bat bloop that'll go to second. Flaherty's there. 1 down. This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the Orioles may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Orioles. Gary Thorne and Jim Palmer with you for Game 2. We'll be right back here tomorrow. Remember, it is a 4 o'clock ball game tomorrow, as Freddie Garcia goes against John Lackey. Goes extra on at 3:30. David Ross. Ross an 0 for 2. He has struck out, flied out. 1 down with a runner at second. And a swing and a miss on a pitch he had no chance on as it broke away.
Yeah, I think the change of speeds, the movement, the deception, where you can count on a couple of fingers who throws from this arm angle. Bends at the waist. That sets up the spine angle. And a lot of times righties, they give up on him.
O'Day gets ahead on the count, 0-2 on Ross. Tillman watching, responsible for that base runner. Iglesias out there at second base. Delivery to Ross, and a swing and a foul tip.
Well, just imagine you're a backup catcher. Jared Saltalamacchia does most of the catching. So you never see anybody throwing from this arm angle or this kind of breaking ball. Does a nice job. It's certainly an off-balance swing. An emergency hack of the foremost.
Only his 23rd game. He's only just surpassed 60 RBIs. You saw Saltalamacchia there, the regular catcher. 0-2 count. Runner off second. And Ross stays away. O'Day says he went after 1. Let's go a little further out there.
Well, David Ross has a history of hitting home runs. I mean, he's a powerful guy. Brian McCann, the regular catcher, went healthy down with Atlanta, so he's always, the last couple of years, he's backed him up.
He's had 3 home runs against the Orioles lifetime. Iglesias off second base. 1 ball, 2 strike count. Flaherty holding the runner. Backs off, and O'Day will step off. Iglesias was really jumping around out there at second base.
Plus, he's getting a huge lead. Now, Ryan Flaherty at second base, well, you can see him in the right-hand part of your picture. He's going to come in to just cut the lead down a little bit, not to pick him off, not to be out of position, but you don't want him stealing third base here.
And trying to give the outfield a chance on a base hit. So Flaherty over near the bag and then jumps away to get back to his position. 1 ball, 2 strike count. And another sweeping pitch that'll miss outside, and it'll go to 2-2. So back to another crunch time game. We're in the 7th inning, and Orioles have made the run stand up in the second and third. They got one each. John Farrell's team's not been able to do anything against Tillman. But Showalter's ball club playing tight games. They've all been that way. Last night, 5-4, 13 innings. The Orioles coming away with the victory after winning the games in Boston. 2 out of 3, and he gets it. O'Day gets a strikeout, 2 down.
Well, it's a game of matchups. So you bring in your right-handed specialist, and he throws. They're only hitting 111 off him. You have a guy that doesn't play a lot. 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position, and the odds are in favor of Darren O'Day, and he gets the job done.
So 2 down, and the top of the order, Jacoby Ellsbury, looking for his first hit in the series. 0 for 3 in the game, 0 for 8 in the first 2. He's had a couple of hits, 6 at bats off O'Day, including a home run. Iglesias with a leadoff double, still out there at second. And that ball punched in the air, center field. Jones has it lined up. He'll get there. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 left on. 7th inning stretch time. Chris Tillman a chance to be the winner. O'Day gets the outs here and protects the lead. Our coverage on MASN HD begins at 3:30 with those extra, presented by Geico, followed by our game coverage at 4 on MASN HD and WJZ. All the access you need right here on MASN.
So Freddie Garcia, the master of the splitter, and John Lackey back. Actually pitching pretty well. Look at the low ERA, bicep tendonitis, so he's back on the mound. Two pretty, well, especially Freddie Garcia, veteran right-handers that know how to pitch, and they'll be pitching in the twilight. 4:05. Pitching coaches love it, pitchers love it, hitting instructors, hitters, not so much.
Well, we have a moment. Congratulate Major League Baseball as they take another move in the global effort, as they're going to be playing in Sydney, Australia next year. It'll be the Dodgers against Arizona. Dodgers president and CEO Stan Kasten said, "Our organization is committed to growing the game of baseball internationally. I'm eager to kick off our season in one of the most exciting and rapidly developing baseball markets on earth." And he is right about that. So the Major League Baseball will start the 2014 season with 2 games between the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, regular season games, March 22 and 23, going to be played at the Sydney Cricket Grounds in Australia.
Going to go on a week.
And I'm going to try and do those games. I am bending the arms of everybody at Major League Baseball, telling them that the international broadcast should be there for that groundbreaking moment in Australia and Sydney. We should be covering those games. World will want to know what's going on there. And I think we should broadcast those on International League Baseball. So there.
So there you have it.
Besides the fact I love Sydney.
Yeah, I've never been there, and but I think Craig Shipley, one of the Australian players, I think he actually still works for the Dodgers. Or maybe the Diamondbacks, one of the two teams. So, but I thought he was maybe farm director or something like that with the Dodgers. So maybe that's one of the connections. Why not?
It's great.
Southern Hemisphere? Is it Southern Hemisphere?
It's a beautiful city, yes. Gorgeous place.
So the Coriolis effect, where left-handers have an advantage. Well, the right-handers are going to want to start.
Coriolis.
Yeah, Clayton.
Flush
Kershaw.
the toilet, see what happens.
Exactly. Clayton Kershaw will not be pitching in one of those two games, in spite of how good he is.
Chris Dickerson. Dickerson has struck out twice in the game. The Orioles DH, Flaherty, and then McLouth to follow. 1 ball, 1 strike count. Ryan Dempster's gone the distance for the Red Sox in this game, giving up the 2 runs on 4 hits. Red Sox have the nothing on 3 hits, 7 left by Boston, 5 by the O's, and De La Rosa in the bullpen.
Yeah, they just called him up, came over last year in that big Dodger trade where the Red Sox dumped the salary and Beckett and Gonzalez and Crawford, hard throwing righty. Well, you can see why they got Ryan Dempster. 7 times he's pitched over 200 innings, 30 starts. He does know how to pitch.
1-2 delivery on the way is foul back. Alex Wilson sent down, who had a fine performance in the ballgame last night by the Red Sox, was really impressive.
No, he really was, and I think they know that. I mean, he had been up earlier, and because of, again, the fact they had to use 7 in that 14-inning game on Monday, 7 pitchers, and you're trying to be at full strength. That's why De La Rosa back up in the big leagues, hard throwing righty, and that's why Gausman is down because of the 13-inning game for the Orioles.
1-2 delivery and a chopper to second base. Pedroia. Dickerson is retired. Bottom of the 7th inning, 1 out. MLB.com at Bats, the #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At Bat delivers O's baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. Text at Bat 31826 or go to Orioles.com for details. Here is Ryan Flaherty. Flaherty will foul that one away off Dempster.
And the more you watch Ryan Dempster, the more you think of Greg Maddux. The way he's pitching lefties in, and of course Maddux had the changeup. Dempster has a split-fingered changeup. Both serve the same purpose.
128 wins, 130 losses in his career. In the air to left field, Nava. Flaherty retired, and there are 2 down. That's 8 in a row retired by Dempster.
Well, he's doing what you're supposed to do, which is if you give up a couple of runs, slam the door and hope that the best offense in the American League is going to come to the rescue.
Orioles got a Davis home run in the 2nd inning, an RBI single by Jones in the 3rd, and those are the Oriole runs. And the pitch will be taken by Nate McLouth. McLouth has drawn 2 walks, scored on one of them, and has flied out. The 100th pitch of the ball game about to be thrown for Dempster, and McLouth will take it for a strike. Oriole bullpen now active. There's Tommy Hunter. Here's the 1-1 delivery on the way. And a check swing. He held up on it. 2 ball, 1 strike count.
Well, you mentioned 2 1/3 innings for Tommy Hunter. A lot of innings catching up.
2 down, base is empty. 2-1 delivery to McLouth, and he'll get down the line and left, curving. Oh, nice catch made. Daniel Nava in left field in foul territory. Had it lined up all the way, and the Orioles are retired in order, and 9 in a row set down by Dempster. It remains 2-0. Army being brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. 4 million members, 4 million stories. Navy Federal Credit Union. And by DynCorp International. We serve today for a better tomorrow. 238 years ago, the U.S. Army established to defend the nation. NASA and our proud sponsors salute all of America's Army for their willingness to sacrifice and protect our country. A lot of servicemen on hand here at the ballpark tonight and seeing a great game. A couple of the highest non-coms in the Army are here, those master sergeants and sergeant majors. Saw them down on the field before the ball game tonight being recognized. Shane Victorino will lead it off, and for the Orioles, Tommy Hunter will come on to pitch.
Yeah, 7 outs last night he got for the Orioles. Glowing numbers. The ability to throw strikes, throw hard, a little curveball, a little cutter. He has now pitched on the 7th, the 9th, the 10th, and the 13th. So 2 1/3 innings, so a lot of work.
And a slow roller foul.
When you use O'Day in the 7th inning, he's assumed the role of Pedro Strop and Ayala to some degree. And he certainly earned it. Of course, Ayala with Atlanta, Strop struggling.
So the way this ball game is being planned out, if all goes according to Hoyle, whoever that was, Hunter works the 8th, Johnson comes in the 9th, gets the save, game over. We'll see. Trouble is, the Red Sox stand between that and your hopes.
Yeah, the trouble is you need 6 outs,
yeah.
and somehow you have to keep them from getting 2 or more runs.
Tommy Hunter working, and Victorino, Pedroia, and Ortiz are the hitters against him. Schedule up here in the inning.
Now, he was throwing about, well, he got as high as 98, but his cutter was 91 or 92.
Victorino 1 for 5 off him, and the pitch will be taken down low. Victorino's got a single, a walk, and he is flied out to center field. The Red Sox have had 1 runner to third base in the ball game. That was in the 4th inning. Karp led it off with a walk. He moved up on a single with 1 away by Iglesias. That's the only runner Red Sox have had to third. They've stranded 1 at third and 1 at second, 2 at second in the ball game. And Tommy Hunter coming on now to try and keep it that way. 1 ball, 2 strike count. Hunter against the Red Sox in his 4th game this year. He has worked 5 previous innings against the Red Sox. He had 2 runs on 2 hits. A couple of home runs off him by the Red Sox. He has struck out 5.
Well, that's when he figured, I just can't throw 96, 97. I have to still make good pitches.
Victorino will put it up in the air to shallow right field. Flaherty back. Time to text in your vote for the AT&T Player of the Game. Here are the candidates. Chris Tillman with a solid 6+ innings, 3 hits, no runs. Manny Machado, another multi-hit game, double, single in this one. And Chris Davis, he had another home run, his 22nd leading the majors, putting the Orioles up in the 2nd inning. Text in your vote, A, B, or C, 31826. Pedroia 0 for 3 in the ball game. Red Sox number 3 hitters had only 1 hit and 8 at bats in these 2 games, and Pedroia on the year now against the Orioles 3 for 17. 0-1 delivery by Hunter to him. He went around, or it was a strike anyway. 0-2.
Well, the other thing about Tommy Hunter, the stuff's gotten better. He learned early on that even if you're throwing in the upper 90s, you can't leave in the middle of the plate the 2 home runs. But coming in, 7 walks in 35 1/3 innings, so he throws a lot of strikes.
Pedroia on the 0-2 pops it up again, shallow right. Markakis this time. 2 down.
So his transformation from a starter to a reliever, been amazing. Dennis Eckersley, who was a starter, and then when he got traded to Oakland, Tony La Russa put him in the bullpen, and Eck would tell you it's a lot easier to get a guy out once than it is 3 or 4 times, and went on to go to the Hall of Fame with 390 saves, 215 wins, won over 200 games as a starter. But he could throw strikes. He would walk 3 one year. So Hunter has that type of control and stuff.
Making a huge difference in a bullpen that has had some problems this year. Tommy Hunter with the 0-1 count. David Ortiz. Ortiz 7 for 22, 3 home runs off Hunter. And Ortiz will take it down low. He's 0 for 2 with a walk in the game. His only hit in the series so far, a home run in the ball game last night. So he is 1 for 7. Ryan Dempster has been outstanding in starting role.
He's given them exactly what they want.
2-1.
Well, they've averaged both home and a road over 5 runs a game. They just don't always do it every night. And as we mentioned, over their last 12 games in the month of June, it's scored 80 runs.
2-1 delivery on the way up high. Keep in mind the Red Sox are 3rd in average and 1st in runs. That's what the Oriole pitchers, Tillman, O'Day, and Hunter, have gone against tonight and held them down to no runs in the ball game. Orioles staff trying to up their numbers. They are 14th in ERA overall. The starters are 12th, the bullpen 11th. Ortiz to center field. Jones. And that's out. Tommy Hunter comes on, gets it done, retiring the side in order. Orioles up by 2. Contributes $50 supporting the Y of Central Maryland's Fit and Fun program. 181 walks, $9,050. Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield encourages each of us to take that first step towards a healthier and more active lifestyle. With Jim Palmer, I'm Gary Thorne here at Camden Yards. The Orioles trying to shut out the Red Sox, pick up the win. Ryan Dempster is coming back out to pitch as we go to bottom of the 8th inning. 127 is high, 102 tonight. Manny Machado 2 for 3 in the ball game, double, single, and is struck out. And we'll take it up high for a ball.
Now you can't take it away, but from the 5th of May to the 23rd of May, he just had 4 bad starts. He ended up 1-4 in May with a 5.5 ERA.
Another base hit, probably another double. Nava going to the corner. It is a 2-base hit. 3 for 4 game for Machado.
Well, what the league has found out, he is a great high ball hitter. And if you hang a slider, the first double was on a fastball, screamed it down into the corner, got him out with a slider. This one stays in the middle of the plate, doesn't do anything. It's like a cement mixer, just kind of churns and stays there. And he just hits it down into the corner, hooks it for a double.
Leads the league with 27 multi-hit games, and that is his 9th 3-hit ball game of the year. And the Orioles get a chance to add to their 2-0 lead. That's hit number 5 off Dempster. The bullpen you saw being called upon by the Red Sox now to get ready. Nick Markakis is 0 for 3 in the ball game. And the pitch will be there for a strike. Markakis and then Jones due up. They're in a hurry. Koji Uehara and De La Rosa has been up before with him. 0-1 the count.
Yeah, you don't see too many people pitch Nick Markakis in like Ryan Dempster's done tonight. And you can see
0-1, another broken back ground ball. Pedroia will play it. Machado will move over to third base with one away.
Yeah, obviously not trying to give himself up, but did want to hit something to the right side after the leadoff double, and he gets the job done. Boy, it really puts a lot of pressure with Adam Jones coming up, not only on Dempster but their defense.
So John Farrell makes the decision. He moves the infield in. Adam Jones an RBI single, 1 for 3 in the ball game, and a runner at third base with one out. And obviously here in the bottom of the 8th inning, an enormously important run if they could get it in. Adam coming into the ball game among the top 10 starting the day in RBIs, ranked 7th, and he fouls it back into the screen. Adam right there in hits. He's got 85 in the year now. That's 4th most in the American League.
You know, almost every other manager in baseball, and John Farrell, a former pitcher, probably would go to Uehara because of his strikeout abilities. But apparently a lot of trust in Ryan Dempster. And as we mentioned, over 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. And that's what he's hunting for. There's your numbers. 1 for 10 for the Orioles with runners in scoring position.
0-1 delivered to Jones. Kept the ball away. Goes to 2 strikes. Dempster has 4 strikeouts in the ball game.
Well, that's about as good a slider as he's thrown all night.
He had retired 9 in a row prior to the double by Manny Machado to lead off the inning. And the Orioles are trying to take advantage of it and push another run across here in the 8th. 0-2 the count on Jones, and up high. 1 ball, 2 strike count. Pacing time for both managers. Victory here, and the Orioles can cut the Red Sox lead to a game and a half with 2 more games left in this 4-game set. One ball, 2 strike count. That'll be outside. Adam watches it go by.
And they're trying to get him to expand the strike zone, and the more pitches you get to see if you're Adam Jones, it's never easy, but less difficult.
The Orioles, the only team in the East right now that have a winning record against the Red Sox. 3-1, trying to make it 4-1. Machado over there at third base. 2 ball, 2 strike count on Jones. Infield stays in. And up high to him. Adam refusing to go after pitches out of the strike zone. Gets the full count.
Well, it's what he was talking about before the game. It's just trying to force him to throw him strikes. And Dempster, kind of a moment of reflection. He's probably reflecting on a low and away slider that he threw earlier in the count. And Adams saying, can I see it? Can I pick it up? Can I put it in play?
Here's the 3-2 delivery, and Jones will foul it away.
And there was the slider, and he did foul it away.
Real good battle here as the power hitting Adam Jones against Dempster.
Well, Jim Presley, Jim Presley, the hitting instructor for the last couple of years, has preached look away, react in. Cover the outside corner, and this is one of those situations. Dempster doesn't throw over 90, so Adams going to look away, and if he does get the ball inside, just try to react to it. And you do all those drills to be able to try to do that. The one-arm drills.
Here's the 3-2 delivery again. Jones a chopper, runner not going. Pedroia takes him back, gets the out. So the infield in worked as ball hit hard. Pedroia, and no chance for Manny Machado to leave third base. 2 down. So Jim Johnson, if it's a save situation, T.J. McFarland should it not be. 2 down, and Chris Davis, the home run in the second inning, 1 for 3 in the ball game.
Well, I got to imagine you got to walk Chris Davis. I think they're going to.
So the intentional pass will be the 4th walk overall, surrendered by Dempster in the ball game.
And then Pedroia moves right behind him with Machado, who should be paying attention down at third in case the ball is thrown away.
And this is where, at the turn of the last century, teams would put a player behind the catcher. And the rule was established that there can be only one defensive player in foul territory, and that's the catcher. 3-0 count. And there is ball 4. So the intentional pass goes to Davis. That's the 8th intentional pass he's picked up. 1st and 3rd, 2 down. Wieters 0 for 3 coming to the plate.
Yeah, Matt doing a nice job this year. 2 years ago he hit .328 with runners in scoring position. Last year it went to .259. This year, even though it's early, it's .283. So his number with runners in scoring position about 30 some points higher than his normal average.
So Matt Wieters a big chance to kind of put a nail into this ball game in the Orioles' favor. 2 down, runners at 1st and 3rd. Bottom half of the 8th inning. Ryan Dempster talking to Carp at first base as to where they want him to play. They will move him off the bag, but holding the bag, with Wieters, a left-hander, up, trying to give him a little room if a ground ball comes that way. And Wieters will take it outside for a ball. 118 pitches thrown in the ball game by Ryan Dempster in his 14th start. Team has won 6, lost 7. Dempster's first 13 starts this year. Big Oriole crowd making some noise for Matt Wieters. 1-0 delivery. He'll take it. 1-1.
Boy, he's got a lot of guts. He just keeps peppering that outside corner and moving it around. You can certainly see why he's had success over now his 16th career as a reliever and a starter.
Now you see Carps move behind the runner. 1 ball, 1 strike delivery. Wieters takes it inside, 2-1. Chris Tillman has got a chance to be the winner in this game. The other thing he's done, he's won 6 ball games himself. The Orioles have won 9 of his first 13 starts, games he started in. So he's given the Orioles a chance to win, even if he has not been the one to pick up the win himself. Manny Machado with a double, now at third. And Davis over there with the intentional pass. 2-1 delivery to Wieters, and that's inside and low. 3-1. Starting the day, Miguel Cabrera led the American League in intentional walks with 8. Chris Davis has tied him if Cabrera hasn't had another one tonight. Now a meeting at the mound to make sure on this 3-1 delivery to Wieters. Runner goes, and the pitch is up high, and they're loaded. And that's going to be it for Dempster. So Ryan Dempster, a 7 2/3 innings performance for the Red Sox, but the Orioles able to get 2 runs early, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, able to make them stand up, and now threatening to put more up on the board. So Farrell comes could pick up his 7th loss in this ball game. But what an effort.
Oh, yeah, valiant effort. Really pitched well. And as we told you, when he wins, those 4 wins, they get him a lot of runs. And when he loses, he would lose tonight and they wouldn't score. He would have had 7 losses and 7 runs in the 7 losses. So Koji comes on. We know him. Traded a couple of years ago. One of the reasons the Orioles have had their success is the trade of Koji Uehara down to Texas. The Orioles get Chris Davis and Tommy Hunter in return. So he's doing what he usually does. Hardly walks anybody. Did hit a batter against the Angels. First time he's done that. And strikeout guy. 36 strikeouts. 26 innings. Fastball splitter. Occasional slider, but probably won't see that. And he jumps at you. 90, 88. Looks like it's about 95.
So Koji Uehara will come on and face J.J. Hardy with the bases loaded, bottom of the 8th inning. Orioles with the 2-0 lead. There are 2 down. You see Hardy with the 3 grand slams in his career. He is 1 for 9 with the bases loaded this year. Uehara's delivery to him, and that is in there for a strike.
Well, there is a slider. Well, he knows J.J. because he played with him. He knows he's a great high ball hitter.
Hardy's had only 1 at bat against him, 0 for 1. Here's the 0-1 delivery. Koji's worked 2 previous games against the Orioles in Boston, inning and a third, giving up no runs on 1 hit. There are the bases loaded. Machado a double, lead runner at third. Davis intentional pass and the walk to Wieters. Here's the 0-2 delivery, and Hardy will go down on 3 pitches. So Uehara comes on and gets it done. No runs on a hit. The Orioles leave the bases loaded. Can I hear the seatbelts buckle, please? Here comes Jim. Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Terry Thorne and Jim Palmer, and yet another outstanding ball game. There we go again, 2-0 lead. 9th inning, the Orioles, Jim Johnson to try and wrap it up.
So J.J. struggles, gets 4 blown saves after 14 in a row this year, 35 going all the way back into last year, and then makes some adjustments. Now 8 in a row when it comes to the save department. So the Red Sox will try to get a runner on to get the tying run to the plate. That's where it all starts.
Jim has 2 saves against the Red Sox this year, 14 out of 16 lifetime in saves against Boston. 9th inning, here is Carp, who will take the pitch for a strike. Carp 0 for 2. Lifetime off Jim Johnson, 0 for 2 in the ball game, and a walk. The Red Sox have not scored. They have been shut out 3 times previously this year. The Orioles have 3 shutouts against opponents this season, none against Boston. The last time the Orioles shut out the Red Sox, September of 2006. Here at Camden Yards on a 2-hit performance with Bedard getting the win over Tim Wakefield. Carp with a 1-ball, 2-strike count. See ya.
Yep. During the streak of the blown saves, the velocity went up, the movement went down. Watch this ball run back. Been a high strike all night long. Carp, they can't complain about a 2 runs down, taking a ball right down the chute, but that ball runs back, and the higher pitch has been called by Corey Blazer all night long.
1 down in the 9th. Daniel Nava 0 for 2 and a walk, 1 for 7 in the 2 games. Jim Johnson is trying to become the major league leader in saves. Rivera's got 23. Grill's got 23 in the National. Jimmy's got 23.
It just looks so much more relaxed than when 51 out of 54 last year. That's the most saves in baseball. Not a lot of angst when things are going well, even though you know it's there. That's just the nature of the game.
Nava with a 1 for 5 off him, and he hit him. That's the thing along with the walk that he did not want to do.
Well, he didn't even move, and you don't have to. Got the protection.
So Nava gets hit, brings a potential tying run to the plate.
Yeah, I mean, really just leaves the arm there, and it hits it. Ducked away from it, takes away the wrists and the hands, and there's your base runner that we were talking about.
4th hit batter by Jim Johnson this year. Iglesias a double and a single in the ball game, and a chopper. This could be it. Here's Hardy. Here's Flaherty. Relay. Orioles win it. Jim Johnson leads the majors in save. The Orioles shut out the Red Sox for the first time since 2006, and they have won the first 2 of this 4-game set.
It's all about ground balls, and so there you go. It's been a long time, 2006. And so Jim Johnson now 9 straight saves, closes it out.
And the Orioles move to within a game and a half of the division leading Red Sox. We'll be right back.